Good afternoon,
Please
Prince
bear
Will.
with.
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Please bear with me. In a minute or two, we'll be starting. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's pre-conversation for the Art of Technology 7.0. So I believe you can hear me. Please, can you let me know if you can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we can.
All right. All right. Once again, good afternoon. Welcome to another day of our pre-conversation for the Art of Technology 7.0. As we build towards this year theme, future technologies and a sustainable Lagos. Today's session focuses on a critical pillar of that future, preparing Lagos workforce and the future, preparing Lagos workforce for the future and tech economy. You see, Lagos is moving rapidly towards a tech-driven economy, one defined by automation, AI, digital services, and emerging technologies, reshaping how we work, learn, and create value. But for this transformation to be truly sustainable, our workforce must be well empowered with the right skills, digital literacy, adaptability, and opportunities to participate meaningfully in the future we are building. So today's conversation sets the stage for that journey. We will explore how Lagos can equip young people, professionals, and career switchers with the tools needed to thrive in our digital economy, how public and private sector collaboration can accelerate talent development, and what practical strategies can ensure no one is left behind as technology reshapes our society. So with that foundation laid, it is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished panel of experts, leaders who have spent years shaping talent development, digital innovation, and workforce transformation across Nigeria and beyond. They will be sharing valuable insights on how we can collectively prepare Lagos workforce for the future, opportunities, and demand of the digital future. So I have right here Dominion Uba, who is the director of Purple Technologies Limited. Yeah. So Dominion Uba is a seasoned technologist and director of Purple Technologies Limited, bringing years of experience in digital transformation, enterprise, software, and system development across Nigeria's growing tech landscape. Throughout his career, he has contributed to building digital solutions that empower organizations to streamline processes, enhance productivity, and scale innovation. At Purplegate Technologies, Dominion leads initiatives that focus on talent development, digital readiness, and integration of modern technologies within corporate and public systems. His work reflects a strong commitment to bridging the gap between technical innovation and workforce preparedness in Nigeria's rapidly evolving digital economy. So, Dominion, are you with us? Can you say hi to the audience?
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah. So, welcome.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you
to
for
be here.
joining. Thank you. So we have here in our midst Segomi Oteri, who is the founder and CEO Grip Corp Enterprise Technologies Limited. So Segomi Shoje Oteri is a distinguished Nigerian entrepreneur and founder of Grip Corp Enterprise Technologies Limited, a fast-growing IT solutions company driving digital transformation across Africa. Recognized among Nigeria's top CEOs, Oteri has received multiple awards for his contribution to technology advancement and social impact. At Grip Hubs, he leads a multidisciplinary team providing software development, cloud migration, network infrastructure, and digital marketing solutions to both public and private sector organizations. His approach blends innovation with practical strategy, empowering institutions to adopt modern technologies that enhance productivity, connectivity, and operational efficiency. So you're welcome, Segomi Oteri. So can you greet the participants here?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for having me. It's an honor, and I'm glad to be here this afternoon. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. So we'll have right here also Betty Chuku, who is the CEO, Klutch Corp, founder, Klutch Corp Tech Bridge Program. So Betty Chuku is the CEO of Klutch Corp, like earlier mentioned. That's founder of the Klutch Corp Tech Bridge Program, a women-focused initiative advancing digital skills in AI, marketing, and project management across Africa. As a growth strategist and tech innovator, she drives inclusion, sustainability, and innovation within emerging tech ecosystem. So through her leadership, Klutch Corp has fostered collaborations with organizations empowering women to thrive in technology and innovation. Betty is passionate about building equitable tech communities and shaping a sustainable digital future for Africa and beyond. So welcome, Betty.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction, and it's also a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you. So last on the list here, we have Obinna Ome, who is the co-founder and CEO Grow. So I've always wanted this opportunity to hear from you. So today provides that opportunity as well. So Obinna is the co-founder and CEO Grow, an AI hiring and work platform that connects vetted African tech talents and global companies. Founded early in 2024 alongside Emmanuel Ajayi, Grow was created to eliminate hiring biases, inefficiency by leveraging artificial intelligence to assist skills, match talents, and streamline recruitment for global teams. You're welcome, Obinna.
Hey everyone, happy to be here, and look forward to the session.
All right, thank you very much. So we are going to kick off this session. So I would like to use this opportunity to invite Sami Ogene, okay, if I can get it well. So who is going to be the moderator today? So with a pleasure, Sami, let's welcome Sami.
Thank you very much, Prince Way. Thank you for the introduction of the guest today. And,
how are you, Sami?
For that, very well, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. For that, we'll go straight to our question. We'll open the conversation with our first speaker, Dominion. So Dominion, who will share his thoughts on Brand Lagos's workforce for the digital future and tech economy? So Dominion, my question to you is, as Lagos transitions into a tech-driven economy, what critical skills do you believe the workforce must develop to stay relevant in the coming decade?
Okay, thank you once again for the opportunity to speak here. And So going straight into the question, what skills that are going to be needed? The first one is the ability to analyze data. As you know, we grow into, a more advanced economy. Things are being digitized a lot. And, as things are being digitized, you have access to a lot of data, and your ability to understand that data and, derive, relevant information from the data is very key. So businesses are, increasingly, looking for data analytical skills. And even before that, critical thinking has been, very, very, um, needed. But in recent times, because of the fact that there's a lot of data now, there is a lot of need for that. Besides that, you also have other things like, everyone is hearing about the AI buzz. And what this simply means is that there are smarter ways to do, things that we have been doing all along. Just as, industrialization has, brought us this far, this is the next stage of, technology and development. And it's very important that, people are able to understand the new set of tools and the new way to work in such a way that, they are always at power or at advantage, you know. So these are two major things I feel are very important. And then one other thing I would also say is learning patterns. Before now, there's been the normal way of, restricting learning to the four walls of, an academy and all that. But these days, it's very important that you're able to do what I would call dynamic learning, be able to learn, from, various sources online, be able to, scan information and ensure that you're able to pick skills, without, you know, having to go through, any sort of, formal, education. This is how a lot of people have picked, certain skills, even outside technology, things like, uh, basically anything these days is something you can learn, online. Probably YouTube, probably using an article, and a lot of people have learned that way. Also, even the formal institutions are now offering online courses, and a lot of their material is, on the internet. Some of the best schools, Ivy League schools, now have courses you can take online. And, a lot of people are still stuck in the bubble of the fact that they have to, travel to, get a taste of what it feels like to study at, some of these really, really nice institutions, but sometimes it might just be a link away. So these are the various things that I would, you know, encourage, people to add to their skill sets, amongst other things, but I'll just stop here for now.
Thank you very much for that detailed response. To the next speaker, Terry. From your experience leading Geek Hub Technologies, what key digital competencies do you believe are most critical for Lagos's future workforce? That question goes to Terry. Dr. Terry.
You're muted. You're muted.
We give access for Dr. to speak. Okay, you're up now. So I'll repeat the question one more time, Dr. Terry.
All right,
From
thank
your
you.
leading Geek Hub Technologies, what key digital competencies do you believe are most critical for Lagos's future workforce?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Now, when we talk about the future of workforce in Lagos, you might want to think not just about tech experts or AI specialists. The truth is every worker needs practical digital skills where they can actually learn. The first skill is basic digital literacy, as you had mentioned earlier. People need to know how to use devices, manage files, search the web, and the likes. There are everyday tasks, yet many workers still struggle with them. Next is more of digital literacy, simple charts, filters, spreadsheets, interpret basic KPIs and use of dashboards. In 2024, over 60% of companies in Nigeria, say data skills were now required for non-technical roles. This is no longer optional. Data literacy cannot be overlooked. Competence with analytic tools, visualization, and basic, data science is essential, for making informed decisions. And organizations really go about informed decisions these days because of how much value it's going to be bringing in terms of profitability. So these are part of the insights that will be able to transform the workforce of Lagos, to be ready for the future. In addition, we're looking at things like collaborative tools. Workers must handle emails properly, manage shared calendars and the tools like Teams and, Google Workspaces and the likes. In Lagos, companies now run hybrid operations, if you would agree. A lot of working from home, also working in the office. So, employees who cannot collaborate with digital tools like this will be able to slow down the workforce, and it's not really something that would bring about a progressive transformation. Digital communication is also a core skill. Workers need to be able to write clear communication paths, emails, manage customers across different channels, and use, automated, simple customer, related tools with AI. Now, most customers interact, online, and it's important that you're able to stay up to date. Cybersecurity hygiene. We all cannot overemphasize the need for cybersecurity hygiene. It's a skill and competence and top of mind awareness that every employee needs to know. How to use strong passwords, enable two-factor authentication, and be able to spot phishing attempts. About 90% of cyber, breaches start with human error and insider threats. Insider threats meaning coming in from inside rather than brute forces and hackers, as they would say. Now, so this, this is a people issue, not a technical one. The next is low to no code. Workers need to be able to automate simple tasks using automation tools like Zapier, N8N, just tools to be able to automate everyday tasks. Now, they'll be able to reduce work hours. You'll be able to use time taken to, do simple tasks instead of just waiting on systems. But with automation, they'll be able to, increase the time, they'll be able to use to do these tasks. These tools just, give an idea of what's expected, of workers in the future. Now, workers must understand also data privacy, consent, handling data, sensitive information. It's important to know that not every information is for everyone, because now, because of the advent of social media, people like to just, throw out information right on the internet just to trend or just to, for cloud sake. But it's important to know that data is very important, and its security is something that we need to take really, really, really importantly. As Lagos adopts more digital, services, privacy mistakes can create real risks. Finally, every worker needs general digital problem solving. This means choosing the right tools, testing simple fixes, and creating quick solutions improvement without looking for approval from top levels. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. That was really expert advice, and the insights are really realistic, from data to those core technical skills that needs to be built. So I'll go to my third speaker, Betsy. I love your work at Glupov. I don't know if that's a right pronunciation, but I love your work there, and that leads me to my question. Lagos is positioning itself for a tech-driven future. From your experience building digital talent pipelines for women and young professionals, what are core digital skills that are most essential for Lagos's work future?
Okay. Thank you, Stanley, for that question. So to respond to this, yes, you're definitely right. Lagos is preparing for a tech-driven future. But the truth is that technology alone does not transform, a city of, what people do. So the strength of our future economy is definitely defined by the strength of our talent. And right now, based off of, the work that I've done, the research that I've done, I dedicated like an entire year to make research on how, we can actually grow the digital skills of women, especially in Lagos. And what I saw is that there's an opportunity here to build and also make people future ready for the workforce. But what we actually lack is the talent. Lagos especially lacks the relevant talent. And there's actually a very big difference because we have a million smart, ambitious, people, but many of them are just trained for an economy that, no longer exists. And we're definitely stepping into, or we are already in an AI-driven, data-driven, and highly, digital, economy where digital skills are, 100% needed. And the skills that are required for this, it's a very, very different, kind of set of skills. So when we talk about Lagos preparing for a tech-driven future, we have to start with, a kind of skill that actually matters, which is a skill in AI and automation literacy. What Oteri mentioned, I agree 100%. So it does not necessarily have to be about coding, but having specific information of a certain AI tool or automation tool can actually help to make things go easy. So not everybody needs to know so much about machine learning engineering or how to code backends or how technical a lot of things are, but people need to understand how AI works, at least the basic level, and how to use it, how to utilize it, and also deliver value in the workforce. So that means knowing how to use AI tools for possibly content, for making researches, for sorting out data, for making decisions, like decision support when it comes to different kinds of industries, and also automation. So even something that is that simple as even understanding some engineering issues, it's best that everybody gets to acquire such literacy as regards to that. And then the second part is having a skill area around data, like what Damien mentioned. So Lagos is transitioning into a smart, interconnected city. That means every industry, from transportation, from healthcare, from logistics to finance, is definitely going to rely heavily on data. So people need to understand how to interpret data, how to create dashboards, how to run basic analysis, so that they can be able to communicate insights clearly. So even if you're not a data analyst by profession, now data literacy is becoming more and more fundamental, for one to be able to, use, in their daily lives, and not just lives, even in the workforce. And then the third part is on digital communication and digital marketing. So of course, we all know that Lagos is filled with entrepreneurs, people who run their businesses, collaborate on one, or want to start one. So if you cannot communicate online, if you cannot build visibility or acquire the kind of customers that you actually need digitally, you're already behind. So certain skills that are definitely required, it's not I see that people leave it at the basic level, but to be honest, a lot more skills like community building, different ways of digital customer acquisition, they are no longer optional. Instead, they are 100% essential. So we've seen that firsthand, based on the research, based on the workshop that I've actually done on my end. it was actually able to, transform a small amount of people, transform their ideas into actual businesses. And then the last is, skills on products and, projects. So like project management, because the tech space, it's absolutely very, very broad. And it's not just about building stuff, it's about how you manage what you've built. The modern workforce at this moment needs people who can understand, project thinking, who can understand the execution discipline, who can also understand how to work effectively in teams. And you don't necessarily have to have a technical know-how to do that. So with most companies that are now running, multiple projects, they need people who can organize, document, communicate, and deliver. This kind of persons, they definitely stand out in any workforce. So when I look at the future of Lagos workforce, I don't think it will be defined by who can write the most line of codes, to be honest. I think it can be defined by who can solve problems with technology, just like what Mr. Oteri mentioned. So I agree 100%. So this is where Lagos needs to be. This is, where we need to equip people to be more practical, to be more, to have more digital skills that can match the realities of the future economy.
Thank you very much for that, Betty. One thing that I've stood out from all the speakers is them saying, number one, beyond writing code and beyond the technicalities of tech, people need to be informed a lot about tech. And number two thing is data. Data is no longer a luxury. It's now a fundamental for everyone who's going to be in tech or anyone at all, even beyond tech. That stands out across all the speakers that have spoken. So finally, I'll welcome Obina for the last question for this round before I go to the first speaker again. And I want you to present your thoughts on the skills, systems, and opportunities needed to prepare Lagos talent for the digital future. So my question to you, Obina, is GRA is is defining how African talent connects to global opportunities. So my question is, what role do you see AI playing in preparing Lagos's workforce for the digital economy, specifically on AI? Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. Yeah, so there are many ways, to be honest. However, when we think of AI, people think it's just maybe machine learning. Pretty much AI is also like automating like manual processes. So we look into workforce, and when you think of workforce, Lagos is not so advanced, to be honest, when you compare. So we're still developing, and you look into transportation, right? Lagos State would have to improve the using technology, of course, to see how we can transport, workers from one point to another, either using a bus system that is, unified for everyone, maybe having a card that you can pay, smart ways that, you can always go to the bus stop in the scheduled time and, pick it up. And the thing with Lagos specifically is that there are some sectors that cannot scale as it should if they don't have government backing. So you look into like transportation sector, real estate sector, security sector. No matter how vast this private sector, companies want to solve this problem, at the end of the day, the major power or control belongs to the government. So the government needs to work with these smaller guys to ensure that this problem is being solved. We also look into traffic, right? Cities now are using smart capture to prevent the standing of police on the road. You don't really have to do that. If a car, passes a traffic light when it's red, it just gets a snapshot, and the next 1 day or 2 days, you get a slip in your address to pay the fine. So like these are just smart ways that the Lagos City can, use AI to solve workforce problem. Then again, we look at upskilling, which the other speakers have spoken about, but I think to solve the upskilling issue, we need to solve the education problem. If more people are educated, I believe more people would then on their own have the creativity to build things by themselves, to solve problems by themselves, and they would be much more high, like, enlightened. Education is very low, to be honest. I mean, the research by Cable sometime, I think 2017 also mentioned that about 70% of sub-Saharan graduates, which includes Nigerians, are not employable even after they are done with university. And I think you've also seen a couple of videos where you see graduates during their graduation and they can't really spell some basic words that, high schoolers should be able to, attain. So the Lagos State would also have to work with schools and ensure that education is, very performed, in the global sector, and not even the US structure. I personally admire the China's educational sector. I admire Singapore's as well. I think those South Asian countries are doing so well in terms of education, and we can replicate what they've done, following that they have larger population than we do. But yeah, these are some of the ways that Lagos states can, solve these problems.
Thank you very much. That was really insightful. Work with the government. The government needs to work with the private sector, and the education needs to be really intentional for the workforce to really grow. The basic education needs to be worked on. This leads me to my second round of question. I'm coming to you, Dominion. And my question to you is, from your experience, how can private sector players like Purplegate collaborate with government and academia to bridge the digital skills gap? Just like Obina has said, the government needs to really, partner with the private sector, and education needs to be worked on, it needs to be improved. So, how can private sector players like Purplegate collaborate with government and academia to bridge the digital skills gap? Dominion.
Okay, that's a lovely question, and I'm going to group my answer into four pockets. The first one is policy partnership. I've been to a couple of bill discussion sessions whereby, the government, members of the government, do well to, discuss bills with, private sector players and stakeholders, before they are made into law. That is, one really amazing way to ensure that, you're able to see different sides of the coin. So that is definitely an opportunity, for private sector players to, bring their own inputs as well. Also, in the second part is in strategy and planning. So again, the private sector people, there's what they say that, innovation always, goes ahead of, regulation and all that, because, necessity is the mother of invention. The people who are actually out there doing the work are the ones that would always come up with innovative ways first, and then the government catches up with regulations and all that. So most of the time, the people who are best at analyzing the problem and breaking it down, because this is their day-to-day job, are, private sector people. So a partnership in that regard is also very, very important, especially when it comes to analyzing what the problem is, how, solutions can come, be effected. Also in the points of execution, especially when it comes to innovation, there are quite a lot of things that, the private sector, is built to do. So these are, various ways that, it can happen. Besides that, more practical ways of this happening is ensuring that, things like trainings happen, and trainings that are, result oriented based trainings that are, real life problem solving. Like, for example, Purple Gates as an organization, organizes boot camps, 8 to 12 week boot camps, and, basically just trains, people. And we do this in collaboration with the government, to ensure that, it reaches, as many people as possible. And we know the skills that are needed to thrive in, the economy, especially when it comes to technology. And we focus on those skills and we teach in such a way that, these people are able to not just have some sort of head knowledge of these skills, but to also apply them, as we apply them, in the workplace to provide value. So this is also something that we can also partner with the academia as well, because like my co-speaker said, there are a lot of people that spend a lot of years in school and then come out and realize that most of what they learned still needs a lot of polishing, as opposed to thinking that as soon as they are done, they can easily just put whatever it is that they've learned to practice. So I believe the partnerships that private sector stakeholders are able to build with both academia and the government is what is going to fill that gap, that divide, uh, that that gap between what was actually expected and what actually happens. Besides that, there are other things like, co-creating in hubs, hackathons, that, private sector stakeholders should, be able to make in partnership with academia and the government, and also ensuring that, these things are, very accessible, very fair and equitable, and they're also able to tell the stories of people who have gone through this, through this pipeline. So I've been to programs like the Nigeria Jubilee, program by the UNDP, and also the 3MTT that the government is, so doing. And these are very, very wonderful examples of private sector and government partnering together to ensure that people are well trained. And there isn't just that training, but a very, very efficient pipeline to ensuring that these people are trained in relevant skills, and those skills are, being put to good use almost immediately, via job creation.
Thank you very, very much. That was really expert. Uh, Going forward, I'll have to, rush certain questions due to our limited time spent. Well, I took your insights, specifically policy partnerships and regulation partnerships with the private sector will help us. So to the next speaker, Dr. Terry, how can technology companies like yours play a stronger role in equipping young Nigerians for emerging jobs in software, AI, and cloud computing? Dr. Terry.
Thank you very much for that question. That is a very practical question, and really that is one that is very, very important, and I hold very dear to me. Yes, just yesterday, I was speaking at a high impact session at a panel at a conference, and this same question was asked. Okay, and apart from collaboration with the public sector, the private sector and companies like ours who have the track record of experience, deploying innovative solutions to both the public and private sector, are in a position to direct and lead and show how it's done and show what matters, or rather let the workforce focus on what matters and not just what they perceive is important. Just like our speaker just said now, people come out of school and they feel they are ready to work. Meanwhile, they do not have the skills. While others, just because of maybe they saw something on social media, they're like, oh, I want to learn this skill. But what real value does it create at the end of the day? What problems are they able to solve at the end of the day? So in tech companies like ours have a major role to play in preparing, Nigerians and the Lagosians for emerging jobs in software, AI, and cloud computing. The first step is short hands-on training programs, intensive life cycles of 6 to 8 weeks, allowing young people to learn practical skills, very quickly and apply them immediately. Long theoretical courses, they don't really have impact, and they fail at the end of the day. Secondly is internship, structured internships, pipelines that are very critical. At GitHub, we place our interns directly on live projects. Yes. They work alongside our software engineers, data analysts, project managers from the very first day, really. We're very hands-on. This gives them exposure to real challenges, teamwork, and project delivery, which is far more effective than any classroom teaching, if you would agree with me. Thirdly, companies can collaborate, with learning the communities, all right? Learning hubs, collaboration, these hubs are able to, provide that community, that leverage, for mentorship, workshops, peer learning, and general young talent. And by doing this, you see people are more motivated to actually gather those skills. By contributing resources and guidance, we're also able to provide help and support to the workforce to be able to gain the necessary skills they need, to thrive in the in the future of Lagos. Now, fourthly, is partnerships, with learning schools, universities, and technical colleges to help align curriculum with industry needs. Because if you'd agree with me, they're still running archaic curriculums, from like 1960, but companies like ours who know what the real deal is and what is happening in the emerging technologies need to collaborate with these universities and technical colleges to align their curriculum with what is expected, or rather what is applicable today and what we foresee as emerging technologies tomorrow. So tech companies can advise on relevant courses, tools, and project-based learning so that these graduates are better prepared for emerging roles. And finally, providing access to professional tools, platforms is essential. At GitHub, our interns use the same tools that we use, cloud services. We teach them how to use cloud services, how to deploy cloud services, the analytical systems like Power BI and the likes. This hands-on experience reduces the gap between learning and working because they're learning on the job or as interns and they're learning on the go. This ensures graduates are job ready. Thank you very much.
That was very on point. You know, private companies need to hold hands with already existing institutions to recommend, to create, to provide the necessary resources and tools. Thank you very much, Dr. Terry. Betsy, I'll come to you now. How can the state, private sector, and training institutions create an enabling environment that supports continuous upskilling and reskilling as technology rules evolve rapidly?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. So in my line of work, I like to, when I make research, I tend to go back to see what the problem is. And I think that it's very, very important, first of all, to understand that continuous upskilling in the workforce it does not just happen by accident. It happens when we properly collaborate. That's the private sector, the university, and the state government properly collaborate and actually work together and then to make things better. Because like Mr. Oteri said, you cannot just imagine, cannot just continue going on the 1960 curriculum and the workforce is saying something completely different. I've been in contact with 100 people. I made an intentional research from January to the month of April, and I did a thorough research by trying to employ 100 university graduates here in Lagos, and none of them were employable, to be honest, because what they actually know is it's way back. So after they get out of the university, they believe that automatically they're ready for the workforce, and then by the time they are in front, trying to work, and they realize that they don't have the skills, so they tend to spend another couple of months or years trying to upskill themselves. That means they have 4 years wasted. So if the private sector, if the state government, and also university work together, it helps to bridge this. So on the state government part, we know that they need to actually make learning very, very possible. They need to make learning easy. It does not, sometimes it happens, of course, in the classroom, but the world is going digital, so we need stable internet to actually get, follow the trend, to be able to access different, learning hubs that can help to grow each person and get the person prepared for the workforce. And then the private sector will be responsible for bringing this, reality check. But before we go to the private sector, the universities are, they help to bridge the gap between both worlds. So their role is to the university's role should be to listen to what the market actually needs and translate it to something practical, hands-on learning, not just theory, not just writing, but something that is also practical, something that one can actually learn and then apply it to what is happening right now. So and then this kind of system can actually build confidence, not just only certificates. So when you put this, I believe it works 100%. And then we go over to the private sector that actually brings the reality check, which is companies that know exactly what skills is becoming outdated and what skills is very much valuable. So because they see it in their everyday operation. So instead of waiting for job ready talents, they can provide a system where they can actually train the people who pass out from the university, that's the graduates, provide trainings that can train them to at least when these people are actually going through this training, it doesn't seem like news to them. It's just a continuation of what they learned from the university. So when you put these three together, the state is creating the access, the university is delivering practical and up-to-date training, and while the private sector is guiding the demand and opening opportunities. So with this, you can actually build, an ecosystem where continuous learning becomes normal, it becomes part of our culture, and it's not just a reaction to crisis. So a place like Lagos, that the economy is moving really fast, the population, a lot of young people, this collaboration between these three will not just be helpful, but it will be seen as something that is very, very essential. And it's the only way we can actually stay competitive in this world where technology is literally writing everything in the next few months or years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really on point. So I think it leads to the next question, and this goes to Obina. From what the previous two speakers have said, what practical steps can Lagos State take to ensure its young professionals are not just employable but competitive in the global tech marketplace? Because we've talked about building partnerships that makes this possible and building frameworks and pipelines that helps this talent. But another conversation is to be globally competitive. So what steps can Lagos take to ensure its young professionals are not just employable but competitive in the global tech marketplace?
Yeah, there are many ways. I think most of us have already spoken on how we can be employable, but then on the global scale, I think I like to use examples and use cases. When Chinese students launched DeepSeek, it's obvious that ChatGPT is better than DeepSeek, but DeepSeek was pretty much to tell a statement that if China wanted to do another ChatGPT, they can, and they launched DeepSeek with $2 million budgets, in compared to billions of dollars budgets with ChatGPT. And when it launched, a lot of people were speaking about Chinese talents. And of course, that got the backing of the government. So these are good examples of how governments can deploy their, youth to the global opportunity. Another one is also in terms of supporting them intentionally. Maybe it has changed, but I know that earlier this year, on Twitter, there was a guy who was meant to represent Nigeria on, I think, a math competition or so, and they couldn't go, not because they don't have the money, because the program must only allows the sponsorship to be from the government, meaning because the guy is representing Nigeria, then Nigeria have to back them. So the parents could not, or people who even wanted to fund could not, and what the government said is they don't have money. And it was laughable because the government definitely had money to put him on flights and send a representative to go there. So these are simple ways that, we can, Lagos states can make sure that their talents are seen in the global space. Then finally, we'll talk about funding. Um, People need money. To be scalable, we still need money. So startups need money. I think recently they've started, investing in startups, which is good. But US government, again, invest billions of dollars to startup because they want to see this company grow, become unicorns and scale. So we also need to see that backing in this side of the world as well. But, these are just some ways that you can say, hey, we're also doing something here, pay attention. So these are just ways that we can do that.
Thank you very much. That was very apt. The government needs to support talents on a global scale, with competition, with opportunities and everything. That will help them become globally competitive. To the next round of questions, I'm coming back to Dominion. Now we've talked about practical steps. Now this question is targeted at, is simple. What practical steps can be taken today to ensure that digital transformation creates inclusive opportunities rather than leaving segments of the workforce behind? Dominion.
Okay, all right. So in order to ensure that digital transformation creates inclusive opportunities and doesn't leave anyone behind, the very first and most important thing is to ensure that people have, the most basic, digital knowledge. We're about, in Lagos alone, we're about almost 20 million. This is, almost 10% of, the entire populace in the country, and there are about 36 states. So this definitely means that quite a whole lot of Nigerians are in Lagos. So there has to be some form of, there has to be, policies and programs to ensure that, people have, the most basic skills. Like my colleague says, people need to be able to use simple tools like spreadsheets, Word document processing, text document processing, be able to make, things like slides, shows, and things like that, basic graphic design skills, for presentation, things like being able to access social media, to be able to do things like, digital marketing and things like that. I'm as much as possible, I'm trying to not to be too technical, because at the end of the day, a good number of people who we want to digitize are not technical. So before they get to the point whereby, they are trying to, see what agentic AI is, doing this and replacing, various complex stacks and all that, it starts from the basic things, basically learning, owning a computer, learning how to use it, learning how to, even use basic bookkeeping tools. These are certain things that, can be taught to informal businesses. The government is, introducing new tax laws in 2026. A good number of businesses are still, not digital. So there's still going to be a lot of problem, tracking a lot of things will have to be inferred and all that. Whereas if, some of these basic skills are being, taught to, people at the grassroots level, even in, the country, then it's easier to, get enough data to make more informed decisions. Something else is also ensuring that, connectivity improves. Everyone keeps complaining about, how network is, bad and all that. Maybe, the government can, sort of, I don't know, bring sanctions to ensure that, the telcos are held to a higher, standards or a higher requirement to ensure that there is, connectivity, you know, better connectivity in better connectivity and also in a whole lot more places. And then obviously, people are able to get devices, smartphone devices at subsidized rates. Maybe maybe tariffs can be, reduced when it comes to importing, digital equipment, so that the price of these things can come down and, local manufacturers for computers, and the likes, can be encouraged, to ensure that, they're able to produce more computers and more devices, at a more reasonable rate so that more people have access to these things. And then also, things like, data centers that, on the long run encourage even further digitization. Those programs can also be, supported, by the government in whatever way, they can. So once these things are done, this means that, more people have, the tools to digitize their businesses in their hands. They have, the basic skills to, turn on a computer and look at the dashboard and understand what it means, and maybe generate a receipt, an e-receipt, and share it to somebody else, and things like that. So, and then they also have the devices to be able to do these things. And then it's at that point in time that you now start saying that, okay, there are certain segments of the workforce that, that will not be left behind, because now you're beginning to include, more people, in getting some of these basic skills, and then ensuring that on those foundational skills, they're able to grow, to, something even more exciting. This is what other economies like China and co have done, and, have been able to, produce the kind of people they've produced. Yeah, that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. This will also lead me to the next speaker, still on inclusion. So, Dr. Terry, what policy or ecosystem supports the startups and tech firms need to contribute to effective workforce readiness and inclusive digital growth?
Okay. Thank you for that question. I believe, and I know that we've actually, shed light on very major, matters with regards to, workforce that is ready, but everything that has been said, whatever, skills or whatever it is that we are prepared with, at the end of the day, the government, the Lagos government, for example, are the policymakers and the enforcers. If they do not provide the environment, the enabling environment, and the ease of doing business, everything that you said, it will not amount to anything. So at the end of the day, or even at the beginning of the day, Lagos needs a robust policy and ecosystem framework, that empowers innovation while supporting talent development. First, regulatory clarity needs to come in. Startups often operate in a fast-changing, markets where unclear rules around taxes, finance, usage, company registration, data protection, and the likes. Cross-border operations. Just yesterday at the same conference, I was given an example. I was given an example of what the policy, the CBN policy, about using our cards into international transactions. For the past 5 years plus, I've lost count. You're unable to use your local cards for international cross-border transactions. All right. Now, this policy really crippled the ease of doing business, especially in terms of foreign exchange and things like that. Now, other people's solutions started extorting Nigerians for their money because they wanted to make exchanges in forex exchange, right? Now, all of a sudden, just a few months ago, this policy was changed. Why was the policy changed? Because it was not after a 5-year time. The forecast was not gotten correctly. It did not yield the expected results and impact that it was supposed to. Now they've relaxed this policy and said, okay, now you can use your local cards internationally now. You can use your local cards with your debit card. You can pay for something in dollars, right? So you can see that the policies and the environment and the ecosystem is what stops and cripples, progressive attempts to restructure or transform business landscapes, whether it's digital transformation or innovation. So when there's regulatory clarity, it's very critical. And now startups can begin to plan better. They can begin to focus on the government policies that matter. They can begin to apply governance, and compliance within their ecosystem on their or their landscapes or the environment, right? Now, startups also, operate in a fast-changing market where these different policies restrict them. So when policies are predictable, tech hubs or companies can actually confidently invest in training programs, for example, in internship pipelines, as I've said earlier, and talent development, because the policies support and back these initiatives, without fear of sudden restrictions or penalties. So clear regulations also make it easy to scale workforce programs across multiple sectors. And also financial support and incentives are essential. Grants, seed funding, tax relief, especially tax relief. It's another area that can help the entire situation. It helps for growth and development. At GitHub, at our company, for example, investing in interns is what we do. Young professionals, on live projects, as I've said, resource intensive programs, and impactful environments. Ecosystem support in the form of funding allows for startups, to replicate models, provide hands-on exposure to emerging technologies like AI and cloud, computing, software development, and the likes. For a broader group of individuals, they're able to get hands-on projects. So government should be able to support such policies and frameworks that allow for inclusion. Now, inclusion of the private sector in government enterprise. Because right now it's hard for private sector drivers to access government procurement processes, for example. It's very difficult to go into the procurement system and be a contractor for the government. You have the capacity as in terms of your technological capacity, but they would not. The criteria to become a public sector consultant is very stringent. I mean, we have been public sector consultants for over 5 years now, and we knew how difficult it was to be able to at least get into the system and grow within the system. So they need to relax this policies and frameworks around public procurement and having entrepreneurs and private sector tech drivers to come in and also collaborate with the government, partner with the government, on institutions and infrastructure, and be able to enforce those objectives that are planned out. So this public sector PPP, which is public and private sector partnerships, will create real opportunities for startups, hubs and the likes to actually participate and be included in public transformation projects. When companies can, pilot projects in schools, for example, government agencies, hospitals, that yes, now this innovation is actually taking place and it's actually being seen and experienced by everyone, not just the audio infrastructure that the government says they claim they do all the time. But when there are private people who are companies involved, you'll be able to actually see visible difference because they have the technical know-how, the capacity to be able to fulfill this transformative objectives. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The basic summary I got from it is we need stable policies to support the private sector, this inclusion. So this takes me to the next speaker. Betty, digital inclusion is a I don't know that.
Is it just me? I'm not able to hear him.
I lost him too. Probably
yes.
there was a network glitch.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
All
you
right.
can.
That question directed to Betty. So, digital inclusion is a major theme in your work. So, what practical strategies can ensure equitable access to tech education and workforce opportunities across gender, socio-economic backgrounds, and communities? Over to you, Betty.
Thank you. So, digital inclusion is something that I care so much about. And I had this in mind when I started my company. And what we do is we provide services, AI infrastructure services to different companies. But then I had to birth Health Tech Bridge to be able to equip people with the necessary skills that is needed, and then provide a real life project for them to practice on. So when you really look at the barriers that we have, you realize that most people are not just excluded because they don't have, interest. They're excluded because of the structures around them. So, and it makes it extremely difficult. So for me, it's digital inclusion starts with designing opportunities that reflect the realities on ground. So first thing first is to meet people where they are. So a lot of young people, a lot of people, in fact, in general, they don't have the basic resources that is needed. They know that they want to be included. They know that they want to be upskilled, right? But they don't have the resources. They don't have a stable internet. They don't have a good system. They don't have they don't even have access to a good learning environment to be able to do that. So immediately we acknowledge that, this is where people are. We can now create different programs that, you know, it doesn't just look good on paper, but it's an opportunity that will reach out to people, reach out to, what exactly they need the most, like learning hubs, like subsidized trainings, flexible trainings, can be online, can be offline. And we have to make learning become extremely accessible, because when you make it accessible, participation is, it becomes very, very possible for every single person. And then the second strategy is to provide tools, not just lessons, not just, lesson that one can, only read and that's all. So if you cannot meaningfully teach AI or data or coding or design, that one cannot actually learn it on a cracked phone, or one cannot learn it, without good internet, service. So providing a system where people can have access to these tools, I believe that, from the government point of view, if they can provide learning hubs that has stable internet, that has, a safe learning environment, a lot of people would definitely have access to it. In June, I visited a tech hub in Unilag for the first time, and I had no idea that it ever existed. Like, no one is even talking about it. And yet on the internet, we find a lot of people saying they want to, be in the tech hub, they want to be included. And yet, we have such infrastructure and no one is even using it, and it's just empty. And then we need to fix the experience gaps. So people take courses, but they cannot even get jobs with the kind of courses that they take. When I'm going through an employment process or a mentorship process with people that I meet, right? And then I ask them, what was the last course you took? And they take courses that people were taking like 5 years ago. Like, it's not even meaningful anymore. We have AI now, and AI can actually do the littlest things for you. So they keep taking courses that are not needed. So we need to come in as a private sector to fix the experience gap. We need to, provide practical experiences for them. And this is where internship, apprenticeships, this is where project-based learning comes in. And then it helps with real workplace exposure. And then most especially, I believe that mentorship is very, very much essential. You cannot just give someone a dictionary and then just let the person go, that way. You need to provide guidance. You need to provide, encouragement and, real world advice, because you're out there, you know what the system actually needs. You're more exposed than that person does than the mentee. So with your guidance and real world advice, you can actually, place the person for long-term, success. And then we have to, be very, very intentional about inclusion. And this is something that I see, lacks in so many places. We're not being intentional about inclusion, and it cannot be something we add after a program is designed. It has to be something that shows up, in a way that, the programs are structured. So when you're designing a training system, for example, you have to have inclusion in your mind when it's being designed. Like our universities, right? When they're designing their curriculum, it has to be designed, with inclusion, with helping to bridge the gap in mind, not just things that cannot even be used in the real sense and in the real world. So sometimes inclusion can be hybrid learning, sometimes it can be practicals, and and sometimes it actually depends on the audience. So at that point, I see it as we having to design around people and not just around assumptions. So for me, digital inclusion means um, it means more than access to education. It means creating a total full ecosystem where people across the social economic background, people across genders and communities can learn, can practice, can gain experience, and then can transition it into the work system.
Thank you very much, Betty. Apologies for the interruption. So to our last speaker, I have a question for you. How can platforms like Grow collaborate with government, academia, and startups to scale digital workforce development initiatives sustainably?
Yeah, very simple ways. Platforms like us who pretty much prioritize or pioneer talents can work with startups, so basically companies to help with internships. So, we can work with universities to provide their third level, their students for internship. So meaning they can use our technology to connect these students to several companies so that they can gain some real work experience. In terms of government, too, it's the same route, but it's a smart way for government to mitigate costs and still solve problem. You walk into government offices and you see piles of files, and these are things that can easily be uploaded and saved in the cloud system. So they can work with students who are into like computer engineering students to work in the government space as a form of internship, and is a by I think it's a two-way benefit. So the students gain experience, the government still solve problems. So, but again, it just depends on the willingness of the government to work, with systems like this to solve this problem. But yeah, these are some ways.
Thank you very much for the expert insights. And that's the end of my questions. But I think we have some questions from some participants. Prince Will, could you help read out these questions?
Okay, thank you. All right, the first question here says, how can Lagos's education system and training programs be adapted to prepare students for in-demand digital jobs? Oh, I would like to direct that question to Ambassador Terry.
Okay. Please, can you repeat the question again?
Okay, we don't just you can just be brief on it because of our time. Okay, how can Lagos education system and training programs be adopted to prepare students for in-demand digital jobs?
Okay. All right, thank you. When we talk about preparing students for in-demand digital jobs, Lagos needs an educational system that teaches practical skills early, very early. Training programs that reflect how real companies work. First, schools need to introduce digital literacy. From the junior levels, students should learn basic computer use, online research, safe internet habits, and simple software tasks. The foundations, every job now requires. Secondly, they should kind of like review the curriculum. They should include hands-on exposure to core digital fields and practicals, simple coding exercises, data literacy, basic design skills, and cloud fundamentals can also be introduced, to senior secondary schools, practical lessons, rather than just theory. Even 1, 2 hours per week can make a real difference. You know how back in the days we used to have Fridays for PE, Fridays we used to do PE, physical education practicals, and then on I think on Tuesdays there's chemistry lab or something like this. So they should be able to, the same things that happen in hubs out there, they should be able to have smaller modular hubs in schools that they do hands-on training on AI digital skills from a very young, from JS1 all the way to SS3, on different levels. So young people, they learn faster when it's practical like that. So let me just stop here because of time.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I really love that answer, especially on your emphasis on digital skills and learning. Yeah, but briefly, Betty, can I come over? Can I come to you on this as the founder of Klutchkov Tech Bridge Program? I believe you must have an insight on this question. How can Lagos's education system and training programs be adapted to prepare students for in-demand digital jobs? Just within a minute, please, Betty.
Okay, so I think the most important shift Lagos needs to make is moving from a system that teaches subjects to a system that teaches skills. So the jobs that are in demand today, which is AI, data, digital communication, product roles, and all that, are not built on just rote learning. They're built on hands-on knowledge. So if we're able to bring real digital skills into the curriculum early, like Mr. Terry mentioned, it helps, and then make the learning practical instead of theoretical, and then also train teachers first. Of course we're talking about training people, right? But the people who are providing these trainings need to be trained first on different digital skills like AI tools, digital teaching methods, blended learning, basic data analysis. And then we have to partner with aggressive we have to partner aggressively with different private sectors, because this can actually help to unlock internship for that student. It can also unlock access to real tools, guest lectures, and industry grade certifications path. And then lastly, we have to build a culture of continuous learning, not just one-time course, something that is continuous. As the world is going digitally, we have to also follow that system of continuous learning, so that we don't stay behind.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Quite a wonderful insight. So we have another question here from Adunola Fasami. Okay, she says, I have a question. What skills do Lagos workers need to develop to remain relevant in the city's emerging tech economy? Yes, I heard you, Obina. So as the CEO of Grow, an AI first hiring and work platform that you see your company connects tech talent and global companies. Now, in order to achieve that here, this question says, what skills do Lagos workers need to develop to remain relevant in the city's emerging tech economy? Briefly, if you can help us answer that, Obina Ume.
Yeah, very simple. AI and automation. So they need to know how to use tools like NX and Cloud AI, and again vibe coding. I think if you really want to push out things faster, you need to learn how to vibe code using Claude. You also need to be very good with using AI APIs and tools like Gemini, ChatGPT Pro, and the likes. You also need to be good with, if you're a designer, you need to know how to start using no-code design tools like Framer, this other one, Webflow, Lovable, and some of these tools, because now people want faster ways to build products. So designers now are now like the it thing. And yeah, and even marketers, like you need to learn how to use AI. Like there are now like AI sales outbounds where you automate the lead generation tools and all of that. So just in your sector, know what is happening and how fast you can deliver, your deliverables, and you'll be good.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for that insights. Yes. Lastly, still on the same question, Dominion, you have led initiatives that focused on talent development, digital readiness, and integration of modern technology within corporate and public systems. Now, the question from Adunola says, what skills do workers need to develop? What skills do they need to develop to remain relevant in the city's emerging tech economy? Dominion, please.
Okay, so my colleagues or co-speakers have really hit the nail on the head. To remain relevant in the city's emerging tech economy, the very first thing is that yes, Lagos workers need to know that they need to learn how to use the computer, as we've said over and over again in the session. Basic computer skills, basic desktop publishing skills, ability to join meetings like this on Zoom, on Google Meet and the likes, ability to use social media, understand the power of social media presence, some content creation, because this is literally the fastest and cheapest way to distribute whatever it is you're doing and, disseminate information. Like my colleague has said, Dr. Terry, understand how to use these devices in a very safe way to ensure you're not compromising yourself or also infringing on other people's rights. And also, like my other colleague, Obina has said, he went into, the more technical things of using, various AI tools and all that help you automate, your work and, do what you need to do faster and more effectively. So these things are very, very important. They are now, what's the word? They are now necessities. They are no more an option. And anyone who is not using them now or has someone that's using them on their behalf is, literally shortchanging themselves at this point in time. Thank you, Principal.
All right. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you all for joining today's session and for being part of our entire pre-conversation series. Over the past weeks, we've had the privilege of engaging with brilliant minds, exchanging ideas, and exploring the building blocks of a smarter and more inclusive and future-ready Lagos. A special thanks to you, Sami. Can you say something? Okay. A special thanks to. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's been a privilege hosting some of the brightest minds in Nigerian tech ecosystem and to spearhead the advocacy for the growth in the digital tech economy, especially in Lagos. That's got to do with Lagos workforce. I want to say thanks also to everyone who has joined in the past 3 weeks, and today also, and also to all the speakers. We look forward to the event day, the AOT Lagos 7.0, which promises to be really amazing. And yeah, see you there. Thanks, Prince Will also.
Okay, thank you. And once again, for the depth, clarity, and experience they brought in today's conversation. You see, your contribution continues to shape this important dialogue and inspire actionable pathways towards preparing Lagos workforces for the digital future and the emerging tech economy. And to everyone who participated and asked questions and insights shared, thank you for your energy and commitment. These conversations are the foundation upon which meaningful impact is built. As we conclude the pre-conversation, we are excited to extend a warm invitation to you all to join us at the main event. That is the Art of Technology Lagos 7.0, happening this December 4th at the Landmark Event Center, Victoria Island. So AOT 7.0, AOT Lagos 7.0 will bring together policymakers, innovators, industrial leaders, creatives, and the broader tech ecosystem for the days of high-level discussions, exhibitions, networking, and unveiling of transformative initiatives that will shape the future of Lagos. So if you've enjoyed the depth of this conversation or this pre-seasons, let me put it this way, the main conference will provide even more opportunities, richer insight, and powerful connections, and also practical solutions that can move the conversation from ideas to implementation. It is an event you should not miss. Once again, thank you for being part of this journey. We look forward to welcoming you to AOT 7.0. My name is Prince Will Onyekachi. God bless you all. See you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great thanks to my co-speakers here, Mr. Dominion, Betty, and Mr. Obina. It's really great to connect with you this afternoon to hear your stories and hear your insights. I believe there's a lot we can all collaborate and do together. And I'll be hoping to hear from you and connect with you after this meeting so we could, continue our conversations and continue to see how we can collaborate in our respective systems to bring about, progressive solutions and innovation and impact within the entire landscape. So thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
All right.
Have a great one, everyone.
Have a great one.